Since the Supreme Court's decision earlier this year, there really isn't any doubt that the so-called employer shared responsibilities will be in effect. And since I've heard that mandate is also called play or pay, Dorian, tell me, how do we play and when do we pay?
Well, that's a good question, Becky. What play or pay means is that employers, large employers, and when I say large employers, I generally mean employers with 50 or more full-time employees in the prior year, and that also includes full-time equivalent employees. Those types of employers need to or have an interest in offering their full-time employees affordable minimum value coverage, and that would be playing. And if they don't do that, they are exposed to potential assessments, and that is the pay part of the play or pay. There are obviously a lot of rules and details behind all of what I've just said, but that's the very basic, the high level of what a play or pay is.
What you said makes sense, Dorian, even to me, but remind me, isn't there also an additional penalty when a full-time employee is offered coverage that is not affordable? What happens when that employee then decides to purchase coverage through an exchange, where he or she qualifies for a premium tax credit?
That's a good question, Becky. The first thing you have to understand is that the employees that we really care about for this purpose are full-time employees. And that is an employee who works on average 30 hours a week or 130 hours a month. And there are a variety of different ways on how you measure employees' hours. But once you've identified who your full-time employees are, it's those types of employees who, if you don't offer them affordable minimum value coverage, and they go to a public exchange and receive a subsidy or federal monies to help them pay for that individual coverage, that type of full-time employee could trigger a $3,000 or pro rata share of the $3,000 penalty for the employer.
Okay, but what about those employers who choose not to play? How much will they be expected to pay for the privilege of not offering health insurance to 70% of their employees?
Becky, that's a choice. Employers can decide that they don't want to be in the game of health coverage anymore, that there are other options out there. And if a large employer decides that it no longer wants to offer health coverage to employees, or specifically doesn't offer coverage to a requisite percentage of its full-time employees, then that employer could potentially be on the hook for a $2,000 penalty times all its full-time employees minus a handful. And again, sort of keeping this high level, Becky, but there are a lot of rules behind what I just said.